Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Our program will begin in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Crystal Duran, Chief Operations Officer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Orange Coast.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our 8th annual Leadership Breakfast. For those I haven't had the chance to introduce myself to, and as you just heard, I'm Crystal Duran, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Orange Coast, and I'm very excited to be here with you today for our 8th annual Leadership Breakfast. First off, a huge thank you to everyone who's joining us here this morning in person. We're so happy that we're able to have this gathering, but I'd also like to thank everyone who is joining us virtually. The past 15 months have certainly been a big challenge for all of us. So we're very happy to have you here with us today. And for those of you who know the club well, you know that there's always a lot going on. As we seek to serve our families holistically, intentionally, and with mentorship in mind. But this year, we're going to hone it in, and I'm very excited to be presenting to you a firsthand view of our Collegebound program, which is our college and career readiness program that works to provide mentorship to high school students to ensure that they graduate on time and with a customized plan for their future. And very shortly, we will be joining a panel featuring our teens as they discuss the issues and challenges that they've faced throughout this pandemic. But before we continue, I would like to take a moment to recognize all of those who have made it possible for us to be here today at our leadership breakfast. So first, I'd like to give a special thank you to our title sponsor, Julia and George Argyros. Please give them a round of applause. I'd also like to give a thank you to our premier level sponsors, Nicole Carrillo Hall and Ann McPherson. And if we could also recognize our leader sponsors and our community partners who are listed on the screens behind me. And last but certainly not least, I would like to recognize our board members who are listed on the screens behind me and who are joining us in person today. Now, please help me welcome to the stage our Chief Philanthropy Officer, Travis Whitton.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Flexibility. You know, if I was to look back on the last year and a half and how we've all collectively gone through this pandemic together, flexibility is a word that keeps coming to mind when I talk to people about the impact that our Boys and Girls Club has had with the kids and the families that we serve. And today, I'm going to share 3 areas of impact where the club has used flexibility to serve our communities. And the first area I want to talk about is what we call kind of our COVID response. You know, if you take a look back to March and April of 2020 and those crazy days early in this pandemic, there was a brief moment of time there where our club wasn't sure what we were going to do, what we could do, or how we could even support the community through this huge event that was coming at us. But it didn't take long. Within a couple weeks, we had launched what we called our emergency childcare program. And this was at our Costa Mesa Boys and Girls Club, and it was designed to serve healthcare and first responder families so that they knew they had quality childcare for their kids so they could go out and do the critical work that they needed early in the pandemic. And so pretty quickly into that program, we realized that our school sites most likely were not going to reopen to regular academic curriculum that school year. And so what could we do? How could we adjust? How could we be flexible in how we deliver program to serve our kids? And so very quickly, thanks to the leadership of Crystal and the rest of our program team, we came up with a safety policy and procedure for how we could reopen our Boys and Girls Clubs. And so how could we ensure that our staff and our kids were safe in person in our buildings? And the real exciting part about that is Boys and Girls Club of America asked if they could share our new policy with the entire movement. And so thousands of kids across this country were able to go back to their Boys and Girls Club because of the work that our operations team did thinking about safety. And so, our summer program operated, and it started over a month early because we knew that schools were not going to be open and working parents needed a place for their kids to go. And so we would typically open 7:30 in the morning and close at 6 o'clock at night. And this is, not an easy business model. It's not our typical business model, but we knew that it was the right thing to do for our kids. Our Family Strengthening Initiative. This is an initiative that we look to other nonprofit partners to support our mission to do different things that we don't do. They went to work immediately. So we started a new partnership with Healthy Smiles, which is a mobile dental clinic. We were able to offer almost 500 dental services to kids and families in our community. We partnered with our high school equivalency program. This is a program that offers parents the opportunity to earn their high school diploma to improve their financial situation for their family. That program continued to operate in a virtual environment, and we had almost 50 parents go through that program. A partnership with the American Red Cross was developed this year. When their biggest source of blood donations ended, high schools and universities, we decided how could we step up and help them. So we partnered with the American Red Cross to host blood drives at our Santana and Irvine locations. And maybe our biggest impact through the COVID response was our food distributions. And this was a partnership with multiple nonprofits, multiple for-profits, and a whole lot of volunteer support to get this done. But this past year, we distributed almost 275,000 meals to families that were food insecure. And so again, these are not our typical businesses and programs that we run, but because we were thinking about flexibility and what needed to be done, we were able to step up and to support the communities in these ways. Now, the second area I'd like to talk about this morning is our support of all-day remote learning. Again, early in the summer program, it became clear that the school districts most likely were not going to reopen to in-person school in the fall. And so again, the team got together, the board got together, and we looked at what could we do to help parents during this critical time. And so we made the decision that we would continue to operate all day long to support kids with remote school until the schools went back in person. And we just finished the academic school year, and Santa Ana just closed their school year, the full year of remote support. So all of our clubs supported working families from 7:30 in the morning to about 6:30 at night. And this is not an easy business model. It's not a cheap business model, but it was the right thing to do. And for any parents that are in the room today, or any parents that are watching on our virtual show today, you know how incredibly difficult remote learning was to handle. As a parent of a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, it was not easy. And so we gave priority to parents that were dual income parents, single working parents, or families that did not have access to the appropriate technology or resources at home. And this year we were very excited to serve almost 500 kids where they could show up. The mentor professionals that work for us guided the kids through their academic day. They had access to computers and laptops. They had access to the internet, and the mentors to guide them through their academics. And then in the after school hours, they had our traditional Boys and Girls Club model. And so again, for those working parents that didn't have an option for quality childcare, this was a huge, huge resource for them. And now the third and final area that I'm going to talk about is our Collegebound program. And Crystal mentioned Collegebound. Collegebound is there to provide students the ability to graduate high school on time, that upon graduation they finish with a plan for some form of higher education, 4-year, 2-year, trade school, community college, military service, whatever that path is. And that 3, that plan is financially sustainable so that they actually graduate with that degree, which is a critical part of it. And so again, as we kind of look back to March or April of 2020, and we think about that time and how crazy it was, our Collegebound team, which was led by Juan, was able within a couple weeks to transition the entire program to a completely new virtual model. And again, you think about it now, like, oh yeah, everybody just jumps on Zoom. How hard that was back in the day. And then you think about that time of year and how critical that is for those students, especially the juniors and seniors, to not miss what it takes to make sure they graduate and then move on to higher education. And so we have continued that virtual model this entire year. Only in the last couple weeks we've been able to serve some of our youth in person. But this year, we have served over 2,000 kids in the Collegebound program. We have almost 150 graduating seniors that are going to be moving on to higher education. All of our underclassmen are on track to move forward to the next grade on schedule. And our alumni program, which supports these students once they get into higher education, continues to grow. And so again, flexibility. And as we look back on the year that we've all gone through, we've all gone through this pandemic through a different lens. It's an individual experience for everybody that's gone through it. And I have to say, I am incredibly proud of what our team, our kids, and our parents have accomplished this year, and how they have demonstrated the flexibility of what it takes to get through this pandemic. And so, as we look to move forward, I just have to say thank you to all of the partners, our friends at our local school districts, all of the donors that invested in our club, in our mission, in our kids, all the volunteers that put in the man hours. Thank you. Thank you for all of you've done, because without you, we could not have collectively done what we've done this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Travis. I thought he was just going to talk about Collegebound, so I sit here and think, wow, we did do a lot this year. As Travis mentioned, Collegebound does three things, right? It creates a customized plan for teens to ensure that they graduate on time, that they have a financial plan for their post-high school pathway, and that they have an alumni support system through the Boys and Girls Club to help them get through their college years. Collegebound is a year-round program, and it's built around equity and access. So it's open to all high school students, and it provides consistent academic support, career exploration, and college pathway activities. And it's staffed with an incredible team of academic advisors who provide personalized case management and mentorship. Through Collegebound, our students receive individualized guidance, as I mentioned, career exploration opportunities, professional development workshops, emotional and social wellness support, financial scholarships, and many other resources that they need to be prepared to achieve their goals and to pursue greatness. So today, we are very excited to be joined by three phenomenal members of Collegebound. And in just a moment, our Senior Director of College and Career Development, Juan Carrillo, will lead a panel discussion with Christy, Edsel, and Evangelina and discuss the challenges that they've faced this past year. But for now, please turn your attention to the screens behind me to learn more about our Collegebound program.
Here at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Orange Coast, we strive to ensure every child has access to mentors and champions in life. For our teens, we work to ensure we are providing a comprehensive array of support, tools, and resources to prepare them for the future. Our Collegebound program works to ensure high school students graduate on time with a customized plan for the future. On average, 90% of the participants in our Collegebound program are first-generation college students, the first in their families to attend college, and about 92% qualify for free and reduced lunch programs at their schools. For these students especially, the college application and financial aid process can be challenging and sometimes prohibitive. But Collegebound works to introduce them and their parents to the idea and attainability of a college education, providing guidance and resources, and preparing them for college and career success.
I initially heard about the Collegebound program when I was signing up for my junior classes, and my counselors passed out the flyer, and the information caught my attention because I'm a first generation and my parents don't really talk to me about college, and whenever I thought about college, I would get really nervous. So the information on the flyer seemed really helpful.
I was with a friend just walking, and they were telling me about a program. I asked about it because I was curious, because I never heard about anything like that, and they explained to me what it was, and I was like, oh, I should look into that, because I was struggling with academics and organization, and I was like, this sounds like it could help me. And they took me, and I met the advisor at the time, and we talked, and I was enrolled into the program.
Collegebound is a year-round program that provides the daily academic support, college pathway activities, career exploration, and resource acquisition to prepare teens for success after high school.
So I've had two main advisors throughout my time at the program, and just the help that it's given me, because I don't think I would have been accepted to any college that I wanted to if it wasn't for the Collegebound program helping me with my UC Insight questions, helping me with my personal statements, or just essays that I've had to write at my college application, especially at my FAFSA, because that was very confusing for me being a first generation student. So that was very helpful just to help me give me that little extra push that I needed to make it where I am right now.
My favorite activity would probably be during one of my monthly meetings with my advisor. This activity our advisor had us do was to envision our future. It was really fun and motivating because it digged deeper into our desired career because it was really specific.
And this past year has brought new challenges to students, from navigating virtual classes to missing friends and loved ones, and the traditional experiences high school brings.
I think mentally, because I saw what it did to the seniors last year, they were very upset. And, coming into this, I thought we were gonna come back second semester. I was a little excited for that. I'm an athlete, so I was excited to have my season. I'm a musician as well, so I was excited to be able to play again and all that. But knowing that I wasn't able to do most of that, it was very challenging on my mind, especially not being able to be with family, seeing my friends a lot throughout the first 7-8 months of it.
In person, you could easily just go during lunch to your counselors, but now sometimes you can email them, but they won't answer in like a few days. So that loss of communication and loss of support too. So that was really a struggle. But with Collegebound, very supportive, and I could, text my advisor and through Remind, and they'll respond to me in the same day.
It kept me on track because honestly there was a lot of times I just wanted to give up with school. It was I struggled a lot because of my internet at home. It was just, I didn't want to do with it. I didn't think it was worth my time, just having to wake up, having to struggle with it every morning, being on time at class and do all my assignments on my own. It was just something I didn't want to do. But meeting with my counselor still, being in the program just helped me, pushing me through the year, just kept me on the right track, kept me going, didn't let me fall back, didn't leave me behind or anything. So it was helpful to have that little extra nudge that I know I needed to make it through the year.
I just want to say that I'm very thankful for all the support and helpfulness that they've been giving me this past year, especially virtually.
Thank you for the program. It's been very helpful for me throughout the 4 years. I got my brother to join too, so it was nice to know that he's in good hands and he's gonna succeed as well as me, and probably even more. When I first joined, I didn't know there was an alumni program. I'm excited to see how I can stay connected or meet with my counselors to get much help to be successful in my next 4 years in CSULA.
We will continue to do whatever it takes to ensure our teens receive the guidance, encouragement, and resources they need to explore all their options, obtain their education goals, and pursue greatness.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Correa. I'm the Senior Director of College and Career Development, and I have the privilege today of getting to interview 3 amazing young students who are an amazing representation of the Boys and Girls Club and the Collegebound program. So I'd like to introduce you to Christy Nguyen. She's a senior from Seagram High School in Santa Ana. We have Etzel Lara Jaimes, who's a senior from Samueli Academy. And then we have Evangelina Ocampo, who's a junior from Orange High School. So before we start with some questions, I know we have 2 seniors in the room, and wanted to just, before we get going, you've committed to your college. Can you state what college you're going to this fall?
I'm going to Amherst College, and my major is undeclared.
I will be attending Cal Poly Pomona as a political science major, but planning to double major with mechanical engineering.
All right, so I've seen your resumes, very impressive. I mean, I feel like all of you are probably busier than myself, have more commitments than me and probably other adults. For Evangelina, what made you decide to join the Collegebound program?
I remember my freshman year as a first-year student, I was just looking for opportunities and ways to get involved in school on campus, and I remember I would spend most of the time in the Career Center, and one day my, Miss Marquez, that's her name, she talked to me about this program, and she said, I know that you're a first-year student, and I would like to help you out, and I have heard about Collegebound, and I think that it's going to be a great opportunity for you. And I said, okay. And I joined, and so far it has helped me so much. I wouldn't be where I am right now without Collegebound.
Awesome, thank you. Christy, you've been very involved with the program. You've attended, in your years with the program, you've attended over 65 meetings, webinars, and events. That's surprising to you?
Yes, you counted.
What is your favorite memory of the Collegebound program?
Ooh, there was this one networking event that I was kind of nervous for, and I didn't really know much about networking before, and that really guided me through what I should do. And during the actual networking event itself, I found it was actually really fun and really exciting to get to know different people, just make connections. So I really enjoyed that one.
Thank you, I'm glad. So, I really want to discuss this past year. It's what a year it's actually been. You all had to shift to virtual learning. So there's a question for Etzel. What has been the most challenging part about shifting to virtual learning?
Probably one of the most challenging aspects of being virtual really is the connection with internet and the connection with people. Those two aspects are so critical when you're trying to talk with people, especially those academic counselors, as you want to have that connection, really person to person. But at the moment with that pandemic, it was a humongous challenge for the whole world. And for me, with slow Wi-Fi, because I'm low income, we can't pay for the highest internet speed, and I had a Chromebook issued by our school. So imagine running Zoom and a bunch of millions of tabs. So it's very difficult, but I was able to do it gladfully, and that's some of the aspects you have to take into account when you're trying to work with those challenges and make them into opportunities. Never let those challenges stop you. You got to keep moving forward.
Thank you. Evangelina, aside from the virtual learning shift, what has been the most challenging part of going into remote learning and this past year?
I would say, as a teenager, and I know as many others, being at home all day has affected our mental health a lot. And I think that that's something that everyone has struggled with, and that has been a struggle for everyone. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have struggled with mental health, and it's been hard over this pandemic. It's just been hard to find that motivation to wake up in the morning, go to class, and do your homework, and all those kinds of things that you have to do. But fortunately, Collegebound, through the many webinars and the many different things that it has taught us of self-care, of time management, and all those kinds of skills that we need, I've been able to cope with everything. But that has been a struggle, and I'm still struggling, as many others are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been something that's come up into light and at the forefront of this. And as we move forward with everything, with the program and with our involvement with youth, mental health has been one of the key aspects that the program and the club will definitely be focusing on. So thank you for that. So Christy and Etzel, it was your senior year. Probably surprised that you had to go into a senior year with being virtual and remote. It's senior year in itself, and many of you can attest to, it's difficult, just let alone challenging, even without a pandemic. And so with that said, how has the Collegebound program supported you in this such crucial year in senior year? So Christy?
I think one of the important parts is that my mentor or my advisor, she's been there for me, so I can really ask her questions. My school has a higher ed center, but the people in charge have to help with the whole senior graduating class, so it's more of a challenge just to get help from my higher ed center. So I know that Miss Gabby's there for me, and she gives me good advice. I can ask her whatever questions I have, which I have many because this is online and I don't really know, and that's really helpful. But Collegebound has also given me webinars, just guiding me throughout the process, how to fill out my FAFSA, navigate the UC applications, and that's been really helpful.
Okay, thank you. Etzel, same question.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, very challenging year, senior year. How has a Collegebound program supported you through this past year?
So I joined exactly March 13, Friday the 13th of 2020, when the pandemic started, probably when the school closed down, when the president at the time said the country's going lockdown. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I'm joining a new program. We're going to be completely virtual. I've actually never met with my academic advisor in person, but still, it was such an experience being virtual and with that support from Collegebound. So let me talk about those examples. What support have I had? So for example, the webinars that they provide are so useful, so resourceful for me because, for example, I'm a first-generation student. My parents are from Mexico. They immigrated to this country. And for me to have those connections about learning about the college system, I don't have that connections. My neighbors, most of them have never been to college. A lot of my friends who are seniors, I can ask them for tips, but they're not a guidance. They don't give me the direct guidance, that one-on-one experience. That's not possible with my friends. I have to have a professional, which this program has offered and given students like me the ability to have that, and that's so significant. It really helps support any student in my experience or in their experience to have that support, those webinars, those information, and I'll go a little bit more in details in the conversation later on.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's look at forward. Let's look at the future and the amazing opportunities that will be available for all of you. So Edsel and Christy, I know you're going off to college this fall. What are you most excited about, and what are you most nervous about? So Christy?
I think the different environment is going to be challenging, maybe challenging. It's going to be, you have more interaction with your professors, so that's more an emphasis than just a bigger class size, interacting with one teacher. Your teacher doesn't really know everyone very well. I also like that my school has an open curriculum, so I will definitely take advantage of that, just explore and just find what I'm really passionate about. So I love just having all those opportunities in my future.
And it's something that you're nervous about.
Oh, definitely the weather. Definitely, I guess adjusting to a rural college because right here is really urban. You can get boba in like 5 minutes. You have shopping malls like almost everywhere. But in Massachusetts, especially Western Massachusetts, it's harder. You have to plan things out. So I guess I'm nervous about that.
Definitely. Well, there's a shortage of boba right now, so that might still be very difficult for you to get out there. So Edsel, same question. What are you excited about? What are you nervous about?
The excited part, maybe going a little bit farther from home. That's always that liberation, that freedom teenagers want, that rebel without a cause. But more on the nervous aspect, one on a personal, learning how to drive in 2 months, so I got to do that. That's a new challenge. But the second one being more academic, learning the resources the universities provide, like Cal Poly Pomona. But I understand that this specific program, Collegebound, offers an alumni program that I can enter to, and that's something of relief that really helps probably decrease my nerves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad, yes, we do have an alumni program, so we'll continue supporting you as you get into college, and we'll probably find a way you can get boba out there. So that's a question, a lot of questions you may have. Evangelina, you're also this fall going to a very exciting year, your senior year. What are you looking forward to, and how do you feel the Collegebound program will help you navigate this senior year?
Great question. So far, Collegebound has supported me so much, and through the many webinars and many workshops that we had, I know they have provided me with so much information. Like he said, as a first-year generation student, for me it's hard because I don't have that guidance, and this program has provided me with that guidance. And I know that as I move on into my senior year, I don't have no anxiety, I'm not worried, because I know that I'm gonna be fine because I'm in this program, and I know that working closely with my advisor, everything's gonna be fine with that application.
That's great to hear. All right, so let's talk about, and the end of an academic year is a great time to reflect. So reflecting on your experience in the Collegebound program, what are you most grateful for? So we'll start with Christy.
I think I'm most grateful for the support that Collegebound has given me. There are so many resources. Ms. Gabby gives me opportunities for volunteering, just like things just keep me going, just keep me doing stuff, staying busy rather than just like staying home, not doing anything, just do school, like that's it. So I have that for me, and I think just having those resources is I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you. Edsel?
probably the most grateful thing is the opportunity, the chances this program offers, the academic advisors. That's something I really appreciate, and I really want to emphasize that one-on-one. I think if I've never had that opportunity, I wouldn't apply to UCs and other universities because I was very discouraged during the pandemic to a degree because I was like, do I really have to apply? Would I want to apply? But my academic counselor, Ms. Monica Perez, if she's watching, she really helped me support, and that's something, and also just in general, all the academic advisors with the webinars that they have. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm very humbled, and for the people who really support the program. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
The thing that I'm most grateful for is just having the opportunities that I've been given so far. Being in this program is a privilege, and it's an honor. And just to be able to have a person that is there for you 24/7, that's amazing, and not something that everyone has. And it just really, I'm very grateful for that, because not everyone has that. And that has helped me a lot, and that's why I am where I am now, because of this.
Absolutely. So I just want to thank all of you and congratulate you for getting through a very difficult year. It's obviously been a very challenging year, but to be a high school student through this process, you should all be very proud of yourselves. So I want to, congratulate you two for graduating high school, which is an accomplishment itself, and going on and, pursuing your college and career goals in the fall. So if you can all join me in congratulating these young, amazing students.
Bye-bye, Chair.
Wow, wow, wow. One more round of applause for our teens. I think they very much deserve it. Travis's word earlier was flexibility, and I absolutely agree with that. And I think as we look forward, the word as we look and reflect on this last year will be resilience, right? And Edsel said it. He said, never let challenges stop you. Always keep moving forward. And that is the definition of resilience. And I am grateful to be part of an organization that is in a small part responsible for the resilience that these teens have developed, for helping them get through this pandemic and having them be even more ready for the challenges that they face ahead. So with that, I'd like to introduce, as we look forward, introduce our CEO to the stage, Robert Santana.
Good morning and welcome. I choose to be an optimist, just like I choose to be a leader. That means that we must use a different lens than we've been using this last year. It's choosing to look at how we've grown, what we've learned, what we're capable of, and what is truly important. That's pretty tough given this last year. As we look at this last year, we are all more grateful for the relationships that we have, the support systems that we have that bring us up, lift us up, help us when we're down and when we struggle. Our friends, our families, our colleagues. We've learned how important we are to each other and how fragile our ecosystem is. Those simple connections that you have throughout the day truly feed your soul. Seeing your friends and your loved ones truly make you who you are. This last year, we've learned how important these relationships are. As the Boys and Girls Club, we've always advocated for the importance of mentorship. And this last year, as we've evolved our business model and the way that we serve the community, we've been reminded how important it is to have people in your corner. We've also hopefully learned to be nicer to each other, to appreciate our differences and value perspective. And whether that was COVID or racial injustice, we've been reminded how each of us play a role in strengthening a community and making this a better place to live, not just for ourselves, but for each other. We've been reminded how we each are a piece of a puzzle that when brought together, we create a community. And only when we're accountable to each other and we are working together towards the same goals, can we truly set the example for our young people create a better place, and hand them a better world. Many years ago, I had a close friend tell me that the best way to describe a nonprofit is to imagine the community without them. Imagine with me, it's March of last year. You're a nurse, a single mom. You work long hours. Sometimes you struggle, but you always push through because you want the best life for your kids. And then COVID happens. And while some of us are in a profession that we were able to work remote, she can't. In fact, she needs to jump to the front line and serve at the front lines of this global pandemic. Imagine the stress and the anxiety and the fear that you have to join the front lines of a global pandemic while also taking care of your family at home. Imagine the stress, knowing that you may get sick and bring that virus home to your kids. Imagine the fear that your kids have that mom is putting herself at risk in order to keep other people healthy. Imagine finding out that the schools are closed, your kids must learn from home, and you don't have a support system that can help you with that. Let that settle in. Imagine the weight on her shoulders. This is why our Boys and Girls Club responded the way that we did this last year. This is why we evolved the way that we serve the community and the way that we restructured the entire organization so that we can be here for her. The best way to describe a nonprofit is to imagine what the community would look like without them. Can you imagine this last year without all of the families that depended on us not having the resources and the support and the comfort that we provided them? Can you imagine the almost 300,000 meals that we distributed not making their way to hungry bellies? Can you imagine the technology, the Wi-Fi cards, the laptops, the iPads, the headphones that we distributed to close the digital divide for low-income students not making their way into these homes? Can you imagine the almost 20 blood drives that we organized with the American Red Cross not collecting the blood that will literally save people's lives? Imagine what this community would look like if the Boys and Girls Club wasn't there this last year. Our purpose is to step up and stand up and provide a voice for those that do not have a voice, to be there for the people that need us most, to evolve however we need to evolve in order to meet the needs of our families and those that are most vulnerable. And whether that's that single parent or that dual working household, or those kids that are vulnerable, those families that are food insecure, the club has been there and will continue to be there. And will continue to evolve however we need to evolve in order to continue meeting the needs of our community. Our purpose is to be there. Our purpose is for people to depend on us, to be there to support them and be the organization that they need us to be. Our purpose is not to be an after-school program. Our purpose is to be a beacon of hope, a symbol for change, a haven for safety, a place that people can rely on, no matter what, during good times and certainly during difficult times. Can you imagine what this last year would have been if our team didn't respond the way that we responded? This is my 16th year at the Boys and Girls Club. In a few weeks, I celebrate that milestone. Never have I been this proud to lead this team of professionals who all collectively stood up when it was hard to do so, because that's what people needed of us. We decided to do more, not knowing how long this would last. We decided to expand our services into areas that we've never, ever done before, because that's what families needed of us. We did so because it was the right thing to do. Of all the things that I'm proud of that this organization, no matter what's in front of us, no matter what obstacles exist, will always do the right thing, because that's what drives us. As we look at the year ahead, we're a few weeks away from closing out our fiscal year, and we have charts and graphs and metrics of all the incredible work that we've done this last year, and we're all extremely proud of that. But what we're most proud of is that we stepped up when it was hard to do so. We moved when most people were stuck. And not only did that impact our organization, but I think it made it safe for other organizations like ours to feel that it was okay to move forward as well. As we look at the year ahead, we will approach the next year the exact same way that we've approached every year before us. We will continue to be committed and focused and disciplined around our mission, and with an unwavering resolve, we make a promise to every family we serve or will serve someday that we will continue to be the organization that they can depend on. And no matter what challenges come our way, we'll be ready for that. As we look at the year ahead, we have 3 priority areas that we'll be focusing on. The first is closing the achievement gap and the learning loss that was caused by this pandemic this last year, or expanded as a result of this pandemic. The second is to continue expanding our emergency safety net resources, such as the food, the shelter, the housing resources we've been providing, the blood drives, ensuring that we are filling those gaps for emergency services in the community. And the last is to address the mental health crisis that has existed for many years, but has been completely disrupted as a result of this pandemic. So first, I want to speak about the achievement gap. This isn't a new topic for us. We've talked about the achievement gap for many, many years. The achievement gap is the performance of low-income students compared to middle-income students, and how year after year they lose information, they lose knowledge and competencies during these critical summer months, and how these will eventually add up. And by the 5th grade, the average low-income student could be 2 to 3 grade levels behind their counterparts in a middle-income household. Everything that we know about what's being studied about the impacts of this virus is that the achievement gap has widened and will have a long-term effect for all students. Let me say that again. This pandemic will have an academic impact on how students have lost their learning and how that will affect their learning for the next few years. The other thing that we've learned is that all students of all income levels, no matter what zip code they live in, will have experienced some form of learning loss. As hard as our school districts pivoted, evolved, and moved learning to virtual services, and as hard as parents did everything they could to support learning at home and virtually creating their own teaching credential and hopefully appreciating the work and the effort of educators, let's face it, it wasn't the education that kids deserve. It wasn't what we would hope for them, and there's a massive hole now. This upcoming year, our organization is committed to expanding our mentor resources, our tutoring services, our targeted intervention, early literacy, and working even closer with our local school districts and our local charter schools to ensure that we are supporting them in this school year ahead. It's important that we understand that if we don't address this achievement gap and the learning loss, these kids will suffer in the long term. Second, the emergency services. These are not services that were traditional to our Boys and Girls Club prior to this last year. And while we've done certain things like food, produce days and farmers markets, never at this scale. where we have distributed almost 300,000 meals to families who are food insecure. We live in one of the most prosperous counties in the country. And still we have families that don't know where their next meal will come or whether or not they'll have a roof over their head in the following month. I would hope that we define prosperity not just by wealth and real estate values, but how we take care of those who are most vulnerable and how we prepare that next generation, the world that we give them. We will continue to provide meals, we will continue to provide technology, we will continue to provide books and learning resources and whatever it takes to make sure that our families have the resources, the support system, and the relationships to enter into this next phase of recovery of this pandemic. The work is not done. In fact, I think we have to realize that there are more families that are affected by loss of income, unemployment, underemployment, and increased cost of living. The square mile around the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Ana is one of the most densest square miles in all of the country. It ranks as one of the top 10 densest cities in America. We have families, multiple families, that are living in a one-bedroom apartment. We have families that are living in a garage. And while we all have experienced this pandemic through many different ways, I think we can all agree that those that were living in poverty have suffered the most and didn't have the opportunities and the flexibility to adjust lifestyle as others could. These emergency services are exactly that, emergencies. And we're extremely grateful to the couple of dozen nonprofits that we work with and collaborate with and share resources with so that we connect their expertise, their content experts, their resources to families who absolutely need them in order to survive. And lastly, mental health. This is not a new topic for us. I think we've all recognized that we have to be transparent, we have to have dialogue, we have to support those who are suffering. Especially these last few years as we've seen the trends for depression in kids and in teens and the increase in teen suicides. These are trends that have been on the rise these last few years, but specifically during this pandemic are more vulnerable. It's not that difficult to understand. The isolation, the fear, the anxiety, the trauma of this pandemic, if not treated, will have lifelong or catastrophic effect on a person. We all have experienced the stress and anxiety of this pandemic. All of us have, and there's nothing wrong with that. But kids and teens were not designed for this level of trauma, and for this length of time. We must provide a voice for those who do not have one. We must provide comfort for those who need it. And we must provide support and resources to those who are suffering. We do many important things, but this is a life or death situation. If we don't address these issues, if we don't support those who are asking for help, we have to realize that we're all vulnerable. And again, what should make our community great is how we take care of those who need us. I'm an optimist. I choose to be an optimist, just like I choose to be a leader. And this last year, while we've certainly seen devastation and we've seen hurt and pain and suffering, I've also seen courage, and I've seen leadership, and I've seen generosity like never before. People like you who invest in our kids and in their future. People like you that paid someone's rent so that they weren't evicted from their home. People like you that volunteered when it wasn't something that was common to do. Everyone was trying to be safe and stay at home, and most of you, with your mask and your gloves, came out and helped us distribute on a weekly basis thousands of pounds of food and produce for families that were food insecure. I've seen what makes us great. I'm also so inspired by the next generation of leaders. Never have I met this many teen entrepreneurs or teens that have started their own nonprofit or their own social cause in their community. Teens that, while earning their high school diploma, are also earning college credit and even associate degrees. We are developing the next generation of leaders. You are a part of this organization. You drive the momentum, our relationships, and the ability for us to reach more families. And we should all be proud of that. I'm an optimist. I choose to look at all the potential that we have, whether that's in our community or whether that's in a family, or it's when you look at a kid and you see who they could become. And we get to unlock that potential. I don't know what people are going to say about this year. Many, many years down the line, we're all sitting in those rocking chairs and thinking about 2020 and how crazy that year was. But I would hope that while we recognize the pain and the suffering, we also realize the heroes that stood up when it was difficult to do so. And I think back again to that single mom who was struggling and who put herself at risk so that others could be safe, and her family, and how they did their part, and how we were a part of that, and how we supported that family, along with all the other hundreds of families that we've been able to serve. It was mentioned earlier, we started our summer program early, and we pretty much never left our summer program. We've been operating these 11.5-hour days for over a year and a half. Never in our history, in our 80-year history, have we ever done something like that. I want to thank our board of directors, because when we spoke about opening our clubs to serve the kids of healthcare workers and first responders, we were one of the first organizations to do that. And it took courage. And if it wasn't for our board of directors and their leadership and their generosity and their support and their faith, we wouldn't have been able to respond. I especially want to thank our staff, because every single one of our staff have stepped up and have put themselves on this front line so we can serve those who need us most. So as we look back, hopefully one day, we'll think about how when we were challenged, how when we were presented obstacles, we defined the word resiliency. We defined what a nonprofit should be, and that we lived our purpose. Lastly, I want to speak about the kids and the teens that we've served. Just like this club showed its values and its courage this last year, so did our kids. We have to remind ourselves what this must have been like from that point of view. I'm extremely proud to be a part of this organization. It's something that is personal to me, and something that I'm extremely grateful to be a part of with the people that serve, our staff and our board, our volunteers, our donors, and our community partners. So I want us just to take a moment to all be optimists and to think about the good and to think about how we have been a part of something bright during a very dark period of our time. Thank you for being a part of our mission. Thank you for investing in the kids and the teens and the families that we serve. And thank you for being here with us, side by side, as we serve those who need us most. Thank you.
Robert, thank you as always for your inspirational words and your continued leadership of this organization. As you can see, this day is about us being very proud and looking back on the work that we've done this past year. And as you heard from Robert, the work still continues, and arguably the hardest work is ahead of us. So we're just so grateful that you could be here, that you continue to partner and invest in our kids and in our mission, and we look forward to having you again here soon. Be well, be safe, thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.